happen. Mike from around the world. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Pastor Paul, doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I really am. I feel great. Great to have you on. Just kind of, you know, tonight I'm looking at all these things. I'm looking at the solar flare erupting on the sun. I put a map up showing all the massive wildfires burning out of control in Canada, the smoke that's choking us out here in America. You told us we were going to have a smoke environment, an ash environment. Here we are. Um, Air traffic control is in a mess. There's a heat wave in Texas. You can't even breathe. FedNow. You brought that up last week. What is that?
Oh, yeah.
Even the famous Tiffany's store's on fire. They're trying to. Russia's arrested or detained General Armageddon. What's that about? Aliens, spacecraft, or pieces of it. 50 perfectly round spheres of some type of metallic metal that's not from this world they found in the bottom of the ocean. That family you talked about in Las Vegas, they had to get an attorney. So many people are trying to get in their house and walk in their yard. Tornado on the top of Casper Mountain in Wyoming. We had Montana like 3 weeks ago. Now we got one on Wyoming. Hail the size of baseballs in Denver, and the water turned blood red in Okinawa, Japan. Other than that, I'm doing okay. Okay, I'm doing okay.
Everything's good. Well, the fire season is just beginning.
Okay.
We got about just in case nobody looked, past Paul, the ocean waters are they're hotter than what they were, last week, and it's reorganizing every single storm system that we have out there.
Okay.
And it's really bad. It looks like a bunch of the clouds are moving in unison. For example, there is all the clouds all the way up to Canada, all the way up to Greenland are moving in. They're synchronized with some of the clouds moving all the way down to Mexico and Brazil. Synchronized. That means they're all under one system. It seems. It is the wildest thing that a lot of people have ever seen, and it's about to cause some really bad storms. In fact, they have warnings that should go out in the next 4 hours for some of the folks in Missouri, Illinois, those places, Kentucky, and because of strong straight line winds. With these stall storms comes a massive potential. Mexico is about to get hit, obviously. And it just builds on from there. And fire season is just now beginning. It's unfortunate we don't have a lot of rain right before the 4th of July because the many lands are basically a tinderbox. So you can imagine what would happen if some of these fires get going. And the earth is burning as it is. If you looked at some of the fire tracks going all the way down to South America, China, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Russia, Australia, there are fires all over the place. Canada is just one example that has drawn attention, but fires are beginning all over the place.
Wow. Well, I know Indiana. I was just up there. It didn't rain for 3 weeks. Now, after I left, it rained Sunday, and it got a little bit rain Tuesday. But I mean, it did not rain for 3 weeks. The grass, everybody's grass was brown. There was nothing green. The crops were suffering. So if a fire was to break loose in that country, it'd be outrageous. Yeah.
And I think it will because of the 4th and the way people are. I do believe that something not so good will take place. People are not very responsible with fireworks, and some people underestimate just how fast these fires can begin.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So, Mike, also with the fire map, as you've been talking about here, and the smoke and the plume and all that choking us out, and it's not good for our health. We know that. There was, again, how can we have tornadoes on top of mountains? Can you help me understand that? They never have heard of this. Montana and now Wyoming.
Well, if you start looking at some of the systems that are going around the Earth and some of the past stabilities that we have, you'll notice a steep change in ocean temperatures. Number one, that's a driver of storms. That's a main driver. In our atmosphere, we have disturbances. Everybody's going to be aware of certain disturbances that we're having in the atmosphere, and it's not caused by anything natural that we know of. But I think that everybody's going to be well versed in weird things here shortly. But
Wait a minute.
we have
Did you say
something influencing.
You said it's not caused by natural.
No, it's
something
not natural.
Else. Something else is
It's
going.
not natural. Not natural. We've never had this. We've never had what people will see with their own eyes. Nobody has ever seen something like that. Not in living times. It's not in written history. Not that we know of. And so, yeah, it's going to be something that will. It's going to definitely give people a moment of pause. They'll begin to realize that we live in a very different time, in a very different world. People will see it day in and day out. In fact, they'll start seeing a lot of things day in and day out. But this in particular will absolutely change the minds of so many. But it will also saturate the internet with a bunch of self-made experts. And of course,
right,
it's not going to be a good thing, but
no.
that naturally happens. Yeah, but that's right around the corner. Paul. That's not, that could honestly be within, a few days or 2 weeks or something like that. It could honestly is that close.
Okay, are we talking about? Are we talking about like something coming from the heavens, like the binary system that we've been talking about, or are we?
Well, it could do with it. It does. It has to do with the binary system.
Okay.
That's certain things that people have talked about that have been theory. Well, they're not going to be theory here too much longer. Every child, every person, every adult, everybody's going to see it all the time. And so,
so you're saying we're 2 weeks? Are we possibly could be 2 weeks away for this?
Well, it could be. It could be. It depends. Nobody can control what's happening.
Okay.
It's totally out of man's control. Nobody's controlling that. And but it is certainly influencing everything on the planet at this point.
Wow. Okay. Well, we've been talking about it, Mike. You and I have been talking about it for almost 10 years. I remember when you first brought up 5 waves of energy, and people just freaked out, and they said, "What in the world is he talking about?" Well, you told us that we would see the sun react. You told us that the oceans were going to heat up. You told us that the magma was rising. You told us that an ash and smoke environment would come, that fires would burn. You told us about the plagues that would come. We've been crustal displacement. Hurricanes, outrageous typhoons. So we've been following along this path, but I'm hearing you say it's close to where everyone will see it, and it ain't.
Oh yeah,
it's not of this world.
No, it isn't. It will change. It'll change. It'll change everything. People will just have to get used to it.
For a
while.
Will people literally get afraid and die from it?
I think they will. I think they will. I think that it's happened. A similar thing. Well, not similar to this, but people have seen less, and they have. Their hearts couldn't take it, and it's unfortunate, especially as believers, because believers read the Bible, and we know what the Lord said. But it's almost like, Pastor Paul, we talk about subjects, but the general populace, they're not really expecting anything to upset their world. For example, they see the government's going all over the place, right? Things are not going right. And of course, in the Bible, we see a realignment of governmental structure and power. We see things working differently. But one of the issues is people, they don't like change. And a lot of people, they don't want to talk about nor know about things that are happening like that. Likely because morality has dropped, and they have so many people stressed out in their own personal situations that they couldn't take another thing. So of course, when they see something else, it's going to be a tipping point. It won't be an earthquake, it won't be a volcano, it won't be like that. Everybody can handle that to a degree, but they cannot handle their entire world changing, and how the world works, and everything will change.
It is going to be a game changer. When they see what they're going to see in the heavens.
Yeah, well,
Mike, let's talk about the. We'll come back to that. Because that just sounds like that's taking precedent over everything. Okay, let's talk about the Mark of the Beast system for a minute. I mean, We can read it in Revelation 13. We've talked about it, those on this broadcast, but you mentioned FedNow last week. I did some
Yep.
research on FedNow. I understand it's a new system of banking, especially with merchants and what have you. But
Uh-huh.
is it a covering? Is it a cloak for what's really coming? Can we talk about that?
It's a back system, a funneling system, you could say, right? You can't scare. They don't want to scare the populace with their finances. If they ever did that, they would lose absolute. If people go broke, right? Um, Government has just lost control. There's no
Oh
way
yeah,
they can have control. And so it's a general consensus that if people ever perceive that their money has been tampered with a bit too much, they're going to lose power the same day. No one will adhere to any type of structure of law. And so people will have their money, but they're changing everything else outside of that. And FedNow is one of those avenues that everybody will have to eventually. Their money will go into something like that. With absolute accountability, and then of course to the merchants, retail establishments, person to person, you name it. FedNow is a computer system. It's based on some of the CBD systems that are coming out. Of course, the IMF is all behind it. The Federal Reserve is the one primarily responsible for it. They're about to launch. The Federal Reserve is about to launch their currency. Did you know that?
no.
And so we have a lot of changes taking place. And so essentially, everybody's financial transactions are going to be funneled through a system, right? You can't forget about AI. You can't forget about some of the new
Right.
internet technologies that
Right.
just came out. And all of this goes together, right? To have 100% accountability of what people are doing. Why? The guise is everybody has a carbon footprint.
Okay.
Right? Everybody does. And so that's a good introduction or way to actually control resources. So here's a fact. Resources are becoming scarce, right? Not because they're naturally becoming scarce. It's because they're trying to formulate a way to encourage people in a very different way to get them to go along with some of what they're doing. Let's take bread, for example, Pastor Ball. Everybody likes bread.
Right.
Have you noticed
Absolutely.
the change in the formula of bread? Anybody notice bread tastes a bit sweeter than it used to? And have you noticed that certain molds will not grow on bread anymore?
Yes. I know that.
Okay.
That's
You
weird.
know, have you seen some of the fruits that they have on the shelves that last for 180 days?
What? 180 days?
Yes.
Because
They have
they're
a
genetic. They're,
very special tag on them, but more fruits. Seems like every month are being added to that list. Why? They're making the crops resilient to radiation, right? To increase radiation,
okay.
to exotic cosmic rays. We're dealing with that stuff. It's killed off the other week. And if you take a potato and cut it in half and put it out in your house anywhere, see how fast it takes to turn brown. Now, what that represents is how many toxins are floating around in your house, right? The inside of a potato is going to degrade pretty fast when it's in the presence of toxins, right? You take some of these new potatoes that they have, they will not turn brown at all. They just won't do it. And so they passed that law during COVID-19 that the wheat they can have GMO wheat and they don't have to tell you it's GMO wheat. They can have GMO fruit and they don't have to tell you it's GMO fruit, right? That law has
Wow.
been passed. That happened during COVID-19.
Okay.
And so there are many other laws that passed also, which have, it's just thrust everything forward and everything is getting prepared for this change, a
So,
very,
okay. So,
very
what I'm
real
getting you,
change.
so what you're saying is we're going to be inundated with the radiation and a toxic environment. So they've genetically modified the food to be able to handle more
That's
of
right.
that,
That's right.
so there'll be something to eat, even if it's not good for us.
That's
At
right.
least, okay. And you're saying that's all. All of this is being set up, including the underground cities and all the rest of the stuff we see going on, is because of this binary system. This, what do we, if you call it Planet X or Nibiru, folks, or Planet Number 9 or whatever you want to call it, you're saying it's literally going to change our environment, and so we're already changing our environment to prepare for it.
Yeah, we are. We are. The environment's already changing. The government's bought up most of the farms, and Bill Gates owns the other half. He has four of those companies that have been approved for food manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
Same companies that make vaccines now make your food. It's been that way for the last, what, 2 years? And now that stuff is on the shelves, including rice, wheat, all your basic products, butter, Blue Bonnet. Uh, some of the other ones have changed their formula, right? While farmers dump out the milk, all that good stuff, right? Because what they're doing, past Paul, is everything is being set up to be absolutely 100% inventoried, right? We're going to have a no loss society. Why? Because the competitive nature, when people work hard for money and some people don't, right?
Right.
Money is not really going to be based on that anymore. It's not going to be based on that. It won't quite be socialism either, because we live in a computer world, correct? So we live in a computer world, and you have automation centers going up all over the place, by the way, which are quite efficient, right? Nobody should ever say a robot can't do what they do,
No, I
because
know. Yeah.
robots already handle a lot of the shipping processes, and people don't really touch it, right?
Right.
In fact, there's a 9,000 square foot facility that only requires two people to be on board
Wow.
every I think 12 hours or something like that, and they have robots running everything, and it's run flawlessly so far. Car manufacturing, same thing. So we'll have technology, we'll have the toys, we'll have all this stuff, but what we won't have, the number one thing people won't have, is control over how they control their own assets, right? This central bank digital currency is, people wouldn't believe how much is in place already, how fast they're going to switch it over. They're taking the technology. All countries are in on the same thing. This is what's surprising.
Oh, wow.
The International Monetary Fund, they follow this. They're the ones that said that China's technology, right? China agreed to beta test some of the most of the algorithms in this system already. So guess what they did? China wrote a lot of the some of the algorithms for processing and everything else. You have England, right? They did the exact same thing with identification, with some of the APIs, and this, that, and the other. You have Bahrain and all these other places in the Middle East, and Dubai. They agreed to do the other portions of it. So the whole world's in on this thing. Russia has contributed. Everybody has contributed. Oh, and by the way, they still contribute, but the switch is coming quite fast, right? That means if you're a millionaire and you have millions of dollars in the bank, that's like, you can't, if you draw all that out, that's not going to help you anything. That's not going to help you, because the retail establishment is going to be absolutely controlled. They have four new bills coming that all commerce is going to have to be compliant to these four bills, which means retail stores, even the tiny ones, are going to have to be compliant with the new structure of finances,
So are you
right?
saying it don't matter how much money you got, you can't even get in the front door if you don't have the correct identification code or
That's right.
QR
That's
code, or,
right.
whatever?
That's right. So they're going to make everybody compliant. At first, people are just going to say, it's no big deal. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to love it. They're going to love it, Passball. They're going to love it. No hackers, right? You don't have to worry about anybody stealing your money. And while everybody's enjoying this new thing, right? I'll tell you what, it's very wise right now to have something set aside, something that's
Tangible?
for a season, something set aside, like metal,
Yep.
some sort of metal set aside. Here's why. When they do this, you don't want all of your funds locked into a bank, and you have no reasonable control to go to. There will be other exchanges, right? That means having some precious metal is going to be about the only way you can ever have anything at home. As far as paper money, it's not going to work, because paper money is simply a note. It's accountable for. It has a serial number. By the way, the AI system with the central bank, they already have that serial number. So you're not going to get anything off that. When you have money yourself, though, right? You're mobile. You can go to any place and
Right.
exchange that for
Right.
actual, whatever you want. But if you have money, you're going to be tied to a zone. Oh, by the way, with this new, with these uh, um, digital currency coming out, the world is owned already. I think they
When you say
finalize the zones in the
it's
UN. I
zoned,
believe that happens at the end of July. Yeah.
what do you mean zoned?
The world is zoned right now. They have zones for every single part of the world right now, right? And it's all according to this one system.
Okay,
And I
now are you
believe that
talking
the
like 10 zones? Like you don't worry about countries, just
well, everybody, we're talking about all land masses are now
okay.
zoned, right? So if you're in a specific zone, right, you're going to be assigned, a specific number. You'll have a number pool, identification pool, all that good stuff will go in there. So everybody in those zones is going to be locked in those zones for a while. That's going to be part of their identification
Well, let me
system.
ask you a question because what you're saying is, let's say I'm in zone 777. Um, as long as I stay in my zone, and I have my QR code of whatever or my biometric thing, I can go into a store. It lets me in. I can purchase. But let's say I leave my zone 777. I go over to 841 and I try to walk in the store. Is that what you're saying? I can't. I could be limited there.
It's going to have to be approved, and the reason why is because they segment these portions. It's in the software segmented, so they can control each. It's almost like the lifestyle of each zone, right? Each person is going to have a carbon footprint. Everything you buy and everything you throw away, everything you use is going to be part of your carbon footprint. You, the individual, if your carbon footprint goes over a certain amount, that you won't be able to buy what you think you're going to buy.
Wow.
You just won't be. So this is a control of resources,
Yes.
right? You have to, if the world was going to change in a not so good way and you had to get people through this rough season, right? How would you do that? Well, you got to start saving on food. You got to start saving on supplies and everything else right now. In our case, it's the farms. It's the milk, it's the wheat, things like that. You have to save. And so you have to control who buys what. That means your weight's going to be a factor. How old you are is going to be a factor. Your health is going to be a factor. All these
Yep.
things are going to be a factor. And it's not going to be a doctor in control. It's not going to be a governor in control. It's going to be a system in control.
Yeah, AI or a system. Let me ask you this question. It sounds like a little bit like rationing, or in other words, what I mean by that, you're allowed so many carbon you're allowed so much carbon use a month, let's say. And if once you get over past your carbon, your allotment, you can't buy anything else. Like the system
That's
shuts
right.
you out.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
That's right.
that is citizen
That's right.
containment. Not only containing people in location, but this is a containment of medical supplies, food, water, everything that they do is going to be tied to a carbon credits or carbon footprint.
Yep. And your social score is a big part of that. We will not have hackers. Then once they get this system in place, right, you'd be surprised how fast people are going to get used to it.
Are
You'd
they
be
going to like it at
shocked.
first or
Yeah,
no?
they will. No, they're going to think it's strange at first, but I can tell you what, as they go into it, give them a month and they'll love this system. They will. They'll love it. They'll love it because they're going to find out that they have a bigger variety of things that they can actually do without worrying about somebody, harming them or something else. By the way, this goes with security parameters will be in place to handle people who don't quite comply with the system, right? All of this goes online. All this, the security parameters within every single country, they go online at the same time. But here's my question: how do they get people to go this route in the first place?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Something has to happen in the world. Something has to happen first, and one of the first
Drastic.
things that has to happen, Pastor Paul, is we have to be. I'm talking about citizens. As a citizen, we're going to have to be sick and tired of hackers. How do you get people sick and tired of hackers to where they would actually say, yes, give us this system that nobody
Yeah.
can hack?
You let
How
you
do you do
let
that?
well
How do you do that?
if they get robbed enough, you got enough people getting hacked, finally they're screaming for something different.
Here's what I believe will happen.
Okay.
Like the USA. Imagine the USA shut down for a week, and I mean a total solid week. And when I say shut down, I mean shut down. Shut down. Nobody's doing anything, right? And not a thing. And imagine after that week, right? They tell you it's going to be 28 days until they get everything back on par again. And then imagine after that, they put in the new security parameters. And they say, look, guys, if you don't want this happening again, we put together this system. Because
Wow.
I'll tell you something, if it hurts enough, people will say, you got to do something now. I've seen that happen in the US so many times. People will say, no, I'm not going to be compliant with this, that, and the other. And as soon as it causes them discomfort, as soon as it removes their comfort, what they can eat and the freedom of their children, they're saying, no, give us something better. And we can go ahead and deal with this, right?
Right.
People are going to be tired of hackers, which means, and I'll say this bluntly, something is going to happen in the countries. It's gonna hurt everybody. Everybody. That's the warning. If I give a warning this year, that's a good one. Something is going to happen, and it's going to be very damaging, and it's going to be due to hackers. That's what's going
Oh
to happen.
wow!
Whether
And
that be
it could, and
state-sponsored
hackers could do a lot of things. They could set off nuclear.
they're going to shut us down. We're going to go dark. That's what's going to happen. That means at nighttime, no lights. No lights,
No air.
the little generators, like what's that one company, the Generac or whatever it is, something like that, right? That company's systems won't be able to transpond with some of the control modules that they have in place. Nothing. People's lights will not turn on because they are remotely controlled now. Nothing. Like if you don't pay your bill with the electric company, the computer shuts your power off.
Yeah.
As soon as you pay the bill, it turns right back on as soon as it's processed.
Right.
If that gets hacked, you get no power. Doesn't matter if your bill is paid or not. Water is the same way. Just imagine. Now, after going through, if anybody has had a power outage for about 7 to 14 days, you get tired after that 14th day. And if you see somebody else's lights on 2 blocks over and your lights are still out, I've seen people, they are just
livid.
Intolerant.
They're
These
livid.
are intolerant
Right.
folks. Yeah, they're livid. And so when you get a whole society like that, yes, people are going to say, do something to fix this. And because it's going to be an external problem, it's going to cause a type of unity within every country that's affected. So you're looking at the UK, they're going to be affected. The USA is going to be affected. Most certainly Germany is going to be affected. Parts of Russia are going to be affected. Don't think they're going to be an outcast. They're not. They're going to be affected too. Parts of the Middle East, that's going to be the issue, is the Middle East. And we're just going to see, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. So
is it being orchestrated? Is it being orchestrated, or is it?
Well, I couldn't forecast this, right? If it weren't such a good plan,
no,
right? There's no way I could forecast this with any detail if it were not.
I mean, you've amazingly forecasted. You've amazingly forecasted things that I thought was natural events, but because you forecasted it and it happened, I knew then it was man manipulated events. And so it's. Well, I'm not talking from weather to pandemics or plandemics. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, this one's going to hurt. If you think COVID-19 was bad, this one's going to hurt.
Are we talking about another pandemic here?
No, this is a simple power outage for
about 30
a power
days outage. Let me just say something. If the power goes out tonight in Chicago or New York City, in 3 days there's going to be dead bodies. 4 days, a week. Mm-hmm. Because first of all, they can't get water. They come down out of these skyscrapers and they start scavenging into the retail stores. Nobody has nothing works, so they're going to loot and rob and look and search and take, and it's going to be chaos in 7 days in a city like New York or Chicago. In the summer, in this heat, people will die in 7 days without water.
Think about 30.
Then I would predict 30 million people would be dead out of three. That's 10% of the U.S. population would die in 30 days. It sounds crazy, but am I about right? Am I right?
Paul, something that's on the lenient side. Right, it really is. Because if people are thinking about fuel, the fuel pumps will not work.
They won't work
without power.
Nope,
they're just not going to work without power.
What about all the refrigeration?
Not work without power.
What about all the food, all the meat, all the refrigeration?
It's going to be gone.
Then what?
You're not going to have that. You're not going to have that. It's going to be gone. So it's almost like that's almost like a global catastrophe. If we were just out of power, now watch, listen, everybody, listen. That means you're going to hear these warnings on television about the problems that are about to happen. You're going to hear about it. You're going to hear the president speak and say, we need to, we need to prepare ourselves for this or for that, for cyber attacks. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear the VP come right behind him. You're going to hear a campaign about this. You're going to start hearing it.
Is
And
it going to
that's when
be?
you know it's going to be concrete and solid.
So they're going to start saying to us, guys, we're sorry, we got to let you know, but the hackers have, and there's going to be assaults on our systems. We need to let you know this. So in other words, they're going to start warning us in advance that we're going to get hacked and whacked.
Yep.
In reality, it's a master plan being
it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere.
Okay.
It's going to be everywhere. And during that time, though, listen what will happen. All systems, all their little systems, everything they want to do is going to be set up during that time, because that will put people in duress, and they'll do anything at that point to get their services back. Right? It'll be like Christmas Day. And if anybody knows what I'm talking about, when you've been without power for 7 days, when it turns back on, it's like Christmas time. It's like a birthday party. Right. And so this is what we're looking at. That it's, the warnings are going to go out. So people, it's just one of those things. Of course, the Lord will carry us through. Right. We just have to be astute. Right. We can't be deniers all the time. And when it does take place, right, I have a firm belief that God will guide people, but we just have to listen, Pastor Paul. We can't be. These people are serious about what they do, and the moment you think they can't do something worse, poof, something happens. Now, is it going to be an intentional plan thing? They're certainly gearing up for it to happen, but who will be the culprits in this? Well, we're a world at war. Are we not?
Yes.
We have hackers in China. We have hackers in Russia.
Yes.
We have a situation with Taiwan. We have a situation with Moscow and the Ukraine.
Yep.
We have a situation boiling in the Middle East.
Yep.
We have problems in Germany, right?
Yes.
And so, but everybody is talking about switching over to these digital systems, but they're not talking about the hackers. It will come suddenly. It'll come suddenly. If we have some sort of catastrophe prior to that plan, they probably won't need to do that. But you better believe we're going to have hackers that take out serious
grids,
places,
power grids,
serious places,
internet connections, all that. So transport, cell phone. All cell phones die. Satellite.
The cell phones are
right.
Now, I will say this. The cell phones are redundant by way of satellites. Well, unless you believe in the flat Earth, there are no satellites, but they're redundant because of satellites. Because you have these 5G towers,
right? And
then every I think it's every 10th or 15th tower repeater or something like that, they have satellite communications. So essentially, these new connections are essentially a big distributed satellite phone system. Is what they are.
Okay.
And so that's somewhat redundant. But as far as internet, your basic internet, no. Your telephone communications is going to be only for people in certain areas. And again, they want it all military bases to be off the grid by 2021. So
that they can operate autonomously without
That's right.
part of the public.
And look what's happened since that deadline. Look what's happened. We have been on a decline, a steady decline. We truly have been. And now we have these other issues that are starting to, get us. So anyway, that's something to be aware of.
So as Christians, it's good that we get these warnings. I mean, Jesus gave us these warnings. Of course, we read them and we think that's for someone else, or that's these people coming down the road, down the line, but when it starts to happen and you're still here, folks, and you will still be here, then you're going to say, wow, I should have been listening closer to what Pastor Paul and Mike were saying and others. I should have been reading my Bible a little closer. I should have not blew this all off, because, see, you need to know, first of all, you got to know what's coming, and then you got to know how you handle it by faith, and God will give you supernatural wisdom. He'll give you direction, but we got to start listening now, don't we, Mike?
Yeah. And he will do that. It's unfortunate, Pastor Paul, that same thing happened in World War One, World War Two. It happened in the Vietnam War, Korean War, and every single war and conflict that we've been in. People said, "Oh, it'll never happen,"
I know.
right? But it did happen, and nobody went anywhere yet. So one of the biggest things is, my advice to anybody like that, because somebody asked me that lately. You know what I said? I said, let the Lord deliver you when He's ready to deliver you. You don't want to come out of the oven early, because you're not good. You won't be good for paradise. Right?
No.
You'll be undone. There's something. We're here because something is not finished.
You won't been through the refiner's fire, right? I mean,
right. That's right. The Lord
right.
has perfect timing. But in the meanwhile, determine yourself to go through this day with the Lord.
So this sounds
simple,
like to me that
day.
we got a binary system coming that's going to rock this world, and we have governments of the world making preparations for that period. And while they're making these preparations, they're also implementing other agendas. And it seems like those agendas are wicked. They're blasphemous.
But they're not. Yeah, they're not good. Pastor Paul, this world is degraded. You know what? There's not one place on this earth that celebrates Christ. Who is lifting up Christ? Who is doing that? I mean, in the public's eye, on a daily basis, it seems like this entire war. Don't get me started. It's against Christ.
Amen.
They keep all the other stuff in there. They can say God all they want. They don't identify with Yahshua HaMashiach. They're not talking about the God that I know.
Nope.
And but that's what it's all against. And everything about the faith of us, right? People, they can examine themselves. Are they not under supernatural assault? They get their bill at the wrong time, right? People make mistakes on their accounts. Not their neighbors, just them, right? So these supernatural assaults coming spiritually and through minions or people who are willing to work with these principalities and powers. This stuff is coming like that.
Yeah.
Like that family right, that had the encounter.
Yeah, let's talk.
That I said my heart goes out to them.
Yeah.
Not good, not a good position.
No, they had to hire an attorney. They've had so many people coming and flying drones over their house and coming on their property, and also they're getting threats.
Yes.
Because they're saying you people are nuts, or you're this and that. You don't put that kind of fear on us. But Mike, I think you're the one who told us that there was as many as 28 witnesses on this.
Yeah, there were a lot of witnesses, and people are sick. People have something akin to radiation poisoning
from this.
That's right. So how in the world can people around them get radiation poisoning, but nothing happened? Come on. And I'm telling you, it's going to happen again. It will happen again and again and again. It's going to continue to happen.
Well, our next webinar coming up, August the 4th, is we've decided we're going to call it Aliens Above and Below. So in other words,
below is a good one.
That's a good one. I know you would be there. You'd be all over that below.
There's a Leviathan kingdom right there.
Whoa! Talk to us about that. Whoa! What do you mean? Let me. I mean, I know Leviathan is in the Bible. I mean, Job.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
yeah,
so that means there's sea creatures. There's underground entities.
A kingdom.
Tell us about this.
Kingdom.
Leviathan kingdom. I'm writing that down.
Well, think of Leviathan and Behemoth, right? But
yeah.
Behemoth was on the land. Leviathan was on the sea. And then when you read these, like Enoch and Baruch and Esdras, you start hearing these names. Even in the Old Testament, that fiery, that serpent. All of them are likened unto a serpent, but they're very specific. Right?
Yes.
In today's world, you hear even people that are demonologists. They run into some people who would say that whatever inhabited them was Leviathan. Not that Leviathan is an individual. It's more like it's a kingdom.
It's a kingdom,
right?
Yeah.
It is a kingdom, but it's a kingdom that's not given full authorization to mess with everybody else, right? So that means governments would be highly aware of this kingdom, not coming from space, but right there in the ocean.
Right.
Correct.
From below.
This kingdom is being replicated on the surface of the earth through people. It's so funny because when people see UFOs leave, right, most people will report that they see them go right into the water, especially people in California, people near water.
Oh, yeah.
And the Navy reports that most of the UFOs have come from the water, right? They come from the water, and they shoot right out into the upper atmospheres. And so, and of course, that happening in Genoa, where some things came up, but they said it wasn't time yet. They all went back in. This we're talking about a long time ago. This happened twice. Uh, so lots of things are happening in
You
the
see
ocean.
this? You see?
Pilots
Okay.
pilots are saying that the ocean is lit up
Right?
like cities, and then all of a sudden they go out.
Yeah. So you can see on the screen. I think you can see it now, Mike. I blew it up, but that's a ball. It's a
Yeah, I can
perfect
see that.
sphere. It's a exotic metal. They found 50 of these in an area where they thought they saw a meteorite crash into the Pacific Ocean. There's a Harvard professor by the name of Avi Loeb who heads up
Right,
this Galileo project, they call it. And
right.
they spent 2 weeks in the Pacific Ocean. They knew right where to go to find where this thing crashed or went in. And when they went down to the bottom of the ocean there, they pulled up 50 perfectly round spheres of exotic metal that's not from this world.
Right.
Now, I'm just going to ask, could a meteorite crashing blow up and cause 50 perfect little balls, or are we dealing with something else?
Okay, have you ever seen oil dripped into water?
Yes.
Notice how it shapes itself into a sphere,
Yes, it
right?
does. It does.
Okay, so if you had an object that kind of came apart at a very deep level, very tiny level, right? It would assimilate based on that heat into balls.
Okay.
It really would. It could do that, but it would have to be a very exotic material, something in between, mercury and potentially lead for something like that to happen. It had to be mixed with pure iron, maybe some pure zinc, maybe some carbides or something like that. So yeah, it could happen. But here's the unfortunate part. Why did he touch those things, right?
He
Should
was
have marked
holding
them and
them.
left them alone.
He
Here's the bad part.
Yeah.
Most of these encounters, right? This is something you may not know. Most people see these, they report these spheres, right? Well, there have been thousands of incidences with all armies of the earth over time where these spheres have been followed into jungles and they've been followed into forests, right? Where they would solidify and end up being something about the size of a softball, a metal ball, right?
Okay.
And there are lots of cases where scientists have studied these things and they turned back into a radiant sphere again, then just took off, right? So if he's doing his homework, he knows that's not safe to do. That's not some Christmas find. He didn't know what that, we got to stop touching things, right?
He was holding them in his hand. He was on the boat.
We got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
We got to stop doing that. Would you touch the devil's pitchfork?
No.
And I know people are pure scientists and they don't believe in Christ, and so they don't like that comment. But I wouldn't touch the devil's pitchfork either. It's defiled. When people handle this stuff, right? They don't know what transference is taking place. It's a known fact, and half your audience knows this. They may not admit it, but they know this. When they have their little encounters that they can't explain, especially at night, there's an impartation of abilities that they'll get every single time. They may have a heightened awareness of what people are thinking around them and be deadly accurate. They may have, they can foresee things before they ever take place. They can know things about people that they shouldn't know. And so these spheres, some of these spheres are authentic spheres. That thing is not dead. That's more like a portal, a handheld portal, a device, right? Something that they're doing at CERN that ends up the exact same way as a sphere, right? Something they do at CERN. CERN has produced spheres already, right? Spheres that were metal and kind of went away after about 48 hours.
So
Okay.
that's the.
So
So
you
when
don't
you
wanna
say
play with that stuff.
so when you say when they take these protons and they collide them at the speed of light, they create these little particles. They could be creating exotic particles or spheres.
They have created. They've had a breakthrough in the last 3 weeks, I'll say. And it started with beauty quarks. Anyway, make a long story short, they have identified properties of real portals, right? We're talking about dimensional gateways as the best way a person can
Are you serious?
perceive it. But these guys have found this, right? They've found it. They found the mathematics behind it. And you better believe they're calibrating everything, right, to go to the next step, which is further. Because see, they have antimatter.
Yeah,
That's an
I know that.
extraction.
Yeah,
But see, antimatter is an extraction from another dimension,
yeah.
essentially. Dark matter does not reside in our dimension.
No.
We have a shadow or fingerprint of dark matter, which makes it look like it's in between everything else, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, you can put your hand right through dark matter and nothing happens. Why? Because it's in another dimension. You have to see dark matter in a very curious way. So they have found a way to extract it. The mathematics has begun to extract it. It's only a matter of time before they crack the seal on a few things, right? They're,
Wow.
they're, they're natural. People are going to find out they're natural uh, seals in the earth, right? In different places of the earth, natural
Well, the
seals.
Bible
Um,
talks about wells, okay?
yeah, yeah,
Portals.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you're saying at CERN, they're figuring out how to pierce the veil, how to, they're just about ready to go into the next dimension. Can they
Well, if
do it?
they, I think they've done it already. I think they've done that already,
Okay.
right? But here's the problem: it's one thing to open a portal and go in that portal, but big deal. That doesn't do anything. They need to be able to extract something from that portal, right?
Into
Something
this
from that
dimension. Pull.
that world here and hold it here instead of accumulating any matter, which is very dangerous. That's extremely dangerous, by the way. But if they do this, one with quantum computing, for example, one you could say a 1 inch by 1 inch square
Yeah.
could power the Earth for about 900 years if you could extract it from that other dimension,
In other words,
right?
it's way past Tesla. It's way past pulling energy from the air.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an exotic energy that's in another dimension. If you could pull that into this dimension.
Right, and they have already tested this and used this. They have powered things from something as small as an atom. We're not talking about anything that generates heat. It's kind of like if you put helium-3 in a nuclear reactor that just exploded, right? It nullifies radiation. Helium-3 does, and so you know, if you could extract this matter, the potential is it's just beyond belief. And when you're talking about forget about cold fusion.
Yeah.
You have a different type of material to sustain a reaction from that open door. It's nothing more than, to them, it's mathematics. It is utilizing particles from this realm tied, as a super tension, I believe it's called, from this realm to the other realm.
Yeah.
And they already have identified that. So things are happening, the mathematics and all the science is there. And these guys are excited. So they found a few things. They had a major breakthrough at CERN.
Well,
A major breakthrough.
it still blows my mind the fact that you can split an atom. Okay, I'm just being honest. I know that was Einstein, and we're talking a long time ago. I still, sorry, I'm just a country preacher from the cornfields of Indiana. Okay, split an atom. What? So you're saying we're past that? We're going way
Oh
past
yeah,
that.
yeah. They want the matter that makes up the atom. How about that? If you can take an atom, which nothing has a natural force to break, right? That's a
Okay.
powerful force to break.
Yeah.
To split an atom takes an unbelievable amount of energy,
Yeah.
right? And so they focus that energy with a purposed explosion to split one. Once you split one atom, it releases enough power to split more atoms, and it causes a chain reaction that becomes this huge explosion, right? So imagine if you could convert all that to a controlled power source, or just a power source.
Yeah.
If you had that as just a power source, weapon wise, nobody would be able to defeat you, because you could actually make something akin to a diode laser, right? That nothing would have the ability to stop. You could also fracture time for an individual. And if you fracture time to an individual, like they have done to some of the sheets that they use, they put sheets near the LHC. And when they collect materials on the sheets, they're watching the time intervals between the collection of one sheet to another, and they notice differences in the time. If you do that to a person, you can essentially disassemble a person just like that. That means vaporize a person, take them apart, but vaporize in a non-destructive way, meaning you cause all the materials in their body, right, to come apart instantly. So they become part of existence, and that's it. Can you imagine a person who's disassembled from something as small as a AAA battery,
No,
right?
that's just, yeah,
Okay.
it's just,
And can you imagine if anybody stood in line with that, it would do it to everybody in that line? You're talking about something that would not diffuse, except it hit a vacuum, which is space or something like that. This is what you're talking about. If they had that type of technology, they're going to have it.
oh, they
They're
believe
going to
it.
have
They,
it. It's
they,
just a
they
matter of time.
understand what it is. They're trying to figure out how to harness
Yeah,
it.
they're going to get it. I believe that at a specific time, they will. It's funny. The breakthroughs at CERN are always timed to these major milestones
Yeah.
of advancement of humanity, like technology, war, and immorality. The more immoral the world gets, the more
Look at this
breakthroughs
idiot. Can I,
these places have.
can I just speak to that idiot? Paul, I see you're afraid to come to light because you got vaccinated. No, I never. Can somebody remove that idiot, please? Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Expected. It's expected. It's expected.
Okay,
Pat,
so
can I tell you a funny story,
oh yeah,
Pascal?
please,
Real
please.
quick. I was listening, right? This guy was listening to Mike from around the world,
Okay.
and I was behind him. I was behind him.
Oh, you mean standing? You were standing behind him?
I was standing behind him. He was talking trash. He was talking so much trash, and I was right behind him. I was about a person behind him. I said, I can't believe this guy's talking trash. You know how bad I wanted to go up to that person and say, hey, give him a break.
Yeah. But if you had, he'd have heard your voice and he'd have known, oh my God, this is my.
I know it.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mike, because everybody, how many times people have asked me, who's Mike from around the world? Do you know who? And blah, blah, blah. I said, look, I promised this man that I would never reveal who he is or where he lives or anything. And
time will permit.
And I never will. Time will permit. And people ask me, when is it going to happen? When will he ever do it?
Time will permit.
Mike, when the time comes, can you let me know, and we could set up a meeting?
You'll be the first. You'll be the first to know, Pascal. You know what? I don't engage with anybody else on
I
here,
know
on
you
the
don't.
internet.
I know you don't.
Your ministry is awesome, and Angela, of course, with Ring of Fire, and of course, on COT. But I don't really engage. I can't do that, Pascal, because the internet is saturated with all this information, and I know what's about to happen. And once these things take place, people will refine their messages, right? And they're going to need somebody they're going to need some folks who have experience in certain areas. I don't have experience in every area, but I've been exposed to some very exotic things in one specific area. And so I'm going to do my best to assist people when that time comes.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that you trust me and trust our ministry, and that I trust you and your ministry and what you're doing. And I really, this was God set this up. Well, you had the vision about me before you ever met me. So
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I did. And Mike, you really bring great information that helps us. And I know you can't spell it out exactly. You would love to, but you can only go so far. But you give us enough. A lot of times you give us just enough that we can then start to put the pieces together, and then we start to understand. And then we see things happen that you say were going to happen, and then they start happening. And you say, wow, this is, we are learning. And I know the intent is to help people find their way to Jesus Christ, to find how to get right with God and how to really have the Lord in their heart. That's amazing.
Because he's got it, Passport. Listen, there's nothing that could ever happen or that will ever happen. God did not allow, sanction, or permit. He's already got us. He's got us covered.
Amen.
Like that one scripture that says, it's talking about joy comes in the morning, but after you had that moment in the night. Well, night is only a few hours, and then the morning comes and you're free. Meaning, just like the Lord said, that he will deliver everybody who has come to him. If we come to Christ, it's because God gave us to Christ. We cannot be lost. We're being raised. There's a difference. But you have a lot of people in this earth who run these cultic places, and they get mad if you don't believe the way they believe. Or
right.
They can't let you go, and they have to create targets. They essentially do what Satan does. Satan has to have a target. Right?
Yeah.
He's the accuser of the brethren. And so these people that follow him are the same way. In our case, this information that we're giving, a lot of people write and they say, you know what, if I didn't know this beforehand, I would have been kind of scared at so and so. And it takes the fear out of these
Yes, it
events
does. It
that are
does.
taking place. It may give a person a moment to pause, but it takes the fear out. And so a lot of people find comfort that somebody knew something about it and that they, they handle it differently when it actually happens. But it's really about to escalate. In truth, we haven't seen too much yet. We're about to see a lot. We're in a very
It
different
sounds
season.
like that the next 6 months things are gonna really change. We're gonna have some serious
Yeah, yeah,
changes.
yeah. You know what? I would say, I think it'll happen this year, but we're going to have an absolute change in how we even see reality. We're going to have that, you know, it's going to make that big of a difference. For example, if people looked up, and one day, if they looked up, say it was 2 months from now, they look up in the skies and they see that the stars are missing or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Or they see something is headed for us,
yeah.
and the whole earth is scared. We'll see at that point it's very difficult to explain to people what has happened. And people are going to be saying everything,
What will the
right?
media do at that point? Will they try to just blow it off, or will there be a
No, they
sense of
can't blow it off. They won't be able to blow
what are
off
they going
because
to do?
people
I
will
mean,
see it every single day.
yeah, too
They'll
many.
see it
The
every
whole
single day.
world will see it every single day.
Yep.
Everybody see it.
They'll do like they normally do. They'll not talk about it, right? They'll not say anything about it. Just like the oceans are hotter than they
Yeah,
have ever been,
yeah,
right?
they are.
They even take down they decrease the temperature before they put it out to the public. The oceans are so hot. We're going to see spontaneous hurricanes form right off the coastlines. Right, not from a
Wow,
distance, but right off the coastlines. We're
wow.
starting to see those type
Well,
factors,
I just
and people
checked.
will see that.
This is what they're reporting that the Atlantic Ocean is right now 3 degrees, 2 to 3 degrees warmer than ever in history for this time of year. And up in over on the coast of the UK and up in Europe, the ocean is 9 degrees warmer than ever this time of year. 9. I don't know how that can happen. I mean, that's outrageous. That's going to
Yeah, it
change.
is.
Yeah,
It is. Alaska, Greenland, right? All these different places that the ocean waters are normally warm, they're changing. Everything is changing in the ocean. Everything is changing. And we're about to go through this volcano season, right? Where we have a
okay.
lot of eruptions. But right now we see what's happening as a consequence of bodies moving closer to Earth. Our sun is changing. Right now, what we see is the sun changes, so
Yes.
will the Earth. And the sun is about to go through a drastic set of changes, right? So the Earth will follow suit. We're
Yeah.
intimately tied to everything that happens on the sun.
Yeah.
But when we're kind of shifted a bit too far, we won't really notice it by way of wobbling, us wobbling. We're going to be normal, but the sky is going to be out of position at that point. We're going to have spontaneous storms we've not experienced before. And even in the Bible it says the seas and the waves roaring, right?
Yeah.
And do you not know that even in the modeling, what we see happening are storms building up so vast, so powerful, so strong that wind speeds, at that point, we talked about this before, they will be able to support very heavy hail, right? You're talking
Wow.
about wind speeds in excess of near 200 miles an hour, that force just naturally. And in a few hours, derechos will start forming in the USA, right? They're going to experience that too, those high winds, and it's triggered from this heat. Well, that heat's about to increase more than what it is right now because Canada's fires, they're having more fires
I
start
know.
up there. And Mexico is burning. They're just burning up. Um, South America is burning up. So we have these places that are burning up. We're about to get smoke from both directions. It's going to be pretty heavy. And we're very near to a pretty big eruption. Uh, Actually, it's three specific places that will likely erupt. When this happens, we're going to have to deal with the ash, right? So
Okay.
our environmental conditions are about to
Now
change
I know
drastically.
Tonga, which had that huge explosion last year, and all the way ash to space. But boy, there's been a lot of earthquakes around there. Do you think that
Yeah,
thing's going to
yeah.
go again, or
Well, it's that thing is pretty big. I think it has three channels. Uh, so I think three channels. So you have a lot of magma building up again out of one of those channels. It
Yeah.
won't flow through the others, right? So it will likely, something near that will happen again. But we're going to see that in the oceans, in the Pacific here shortly. We're going to see it in the Atlantic. We're going to see some dormant volcanoes up near Washington State going down to California. We're going to see those things start to wake up and rumble.
Yeah.
Mexico is going to be a big problem for us. And then, of course, the USA alone has 190 volcanoes in it, right?
A
The
bunch.
USA does.
I know. I mean, a bunch in
And so
California.
those are going to start to go off,
a
right?
bunch in California that are dormant. Yeah, that are
That's
due.
right. And that magma is building. Why is magma building? Because we have all these cosmic rays and solar winds are hitting the Earth. The Earth is absorbing everything the sun has and gives to it that's polarized to us. The Earth absorbs. It's like overcharging your cell phone. If you do that, if your charger did not, or your battery did not shut off the charge going into it, right, your phone will blow up within an hour because it's receiving too much charge.
Wow.
The Earth is receiving too much radiation. Is processing too much power. All that power has to go somewhere. It just can't stay in the middle of the Earth. And so it normally comes out by way of magma. Magma melts more and more, which means the crust of the Earth gets thinner and thinner at certain regions until magma breaches. I know everybody's worried about Yellowstone. People will see Yellowstone gradually flow out. That magma is going to come out of Yellowstone. It will. But the worst places are going to be Italy, Japan, places like that. It's the Gulf region. It's on fire right now. They won't really share these stories. It caught on fire again. They're having too many fires come up from the bottom of the Gulf. Fires. You know how weird that looks? You're looking at the ocean, right?
Yeah.
And you see a big fireball in the middle of the ocean, and you see a bunch of vessels out there trying to put the fire out.
Is it gas? Is it because gas?
Yes. Gas in the Gulf,
Yeah,
right, is igniting for some reason.
Wow.
Likely because of magma. If magma hits a natural gas, one of those bubbles, right, you're talking about some serious explosives.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question because I've been worried about Louisiana ever since you said that. Because there's so much like gas in these compartments. I lost the terminology, but if the magma rises and hits one of these, I mean, it could just blow. I mean, is that possible?
Yes, it is, and it's happened before. That's why they shut the gas off in Pennsylvania in certain parts, right? But listen, New York City, underneath New York, is a caldera bigger than Yellowstone.
That's insane.
It's bigger than Yellowstone.
That's insane.
Now they sat there and lied to everybody. I mean, they just blatantly lied, saying, this is take about 6 million years for this to ever breach the surface. They're already having heating problems of those underground systems because they have a degrading gas system. All those gas lines that they have in New York. Are you kidding me? That was a major city, so you have a lot of gas lines coming into New York, and they have places where they have taps there too. But that essentially that entire city has an infrastructure underneath the ground that is unbelievably old. And it's, if that starts to fail, there's no way they can figure that out. They've already said there's no way they can figure that out, right? They're trying to repair the gas system. And they said there's no way they can get that whole thing repaired. It's too much, too old, too complex. And so there you are.
There will be issues. Yep. Sounds like we've got.
They're going to burn. I think 1,000%. It's going to be a matter of a little time, and New York will ignite. I think
1,000%.
Yeah, I think it will ignite. I think people are in trouble there.
Wow, the Big Apple could be scorched.
Be a burn apple.
Yeah.
But New York is dedicated to bail, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, they got it right on Wall Street. They got the bull right there for you.
And they bought his. His wife is on the way, isn't she?
Yeah, she's on the way.
Yeah, Bale's wife's on the way. They have all the little things they have set up for that. So
they've been setting up all these.
They can't worship Satan and expect. No. What are they expecting with this guy?
Wow, Mike. I got to go back and watch this again, okay? Because I need to go back and and rewrite my new notes and try to figure out what it was amazing. I appreciate you coming on and being honest with us. And look at this. They've already posted over at Eventbrite, I guess, aliens above and below. And Mike says, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, I appreciate you coming on being with us. Is there anything else you're going to drop on us before we're going to talk about next week?
Well, Pastor Paul, the fires, these people with fires, bad idea. So, people might want to get ready for that. In fact, there are certain states who are taking precautions the next couple of days for fires. So keep that in mind, everybody. If you have electric companies preparing for it, if you have water companies and gas companies preparing for it, and emergency services preparing for it, then, they suspect something. So be aware of that.
We will do that. And I appreciate you coming on, being with us tonight. It was very interesting and very eye-opening. And I'll keep looking up because I think we're going to see something soon.
Amen. Pastor Paul, is always an honor.
The honor's mine. Trust me. God bless you, brother.
God bless.
Amen. Mike, friend of the world.